Okay, so to Hilg Gemara. Taner Abanon, Shiora Shahoisa Mahaleches Bamidbar. There was a caravan that was traveling in the Midbar. Va'amad Gaius Vitarfa, and a band of gangsters banded together to attack this caravan. Va'amar Echad Mehen Vihitzel, and one brave person got up and recovered some of the items that the Gaius wanted to pillage from this group. So who gets to keep those items? Zok to Gemara, Zok to Brisa, Hitzel Emta. Whoever the belongings he saved, it goes to those original owners. So everyone takes a look of what he managed to save, and everyone takes back what was theirs. However, but if this guy gets up and says, "Listen, I'm not risking my life to fight these guys so that you should get your stuff back. Whatever I recover, I'm going to keep myself." So the Allah is hitzel atzmi. He gets to keep it himself. So we have an interesting case where only if he speaks out that it's for me does he get to keep it. Otherwise, we assume that what he recovered for the people who the items originally belonged to. So, what is exactly the case? If it's not a complete loss, meaning it's possible that the people can overcome the gayas, and therefore they're not automatically miyayish on their items, so then it belongs to them. So I feel a safe enami. I have no right to go take their items. So even if I speak out, I'm going and I'm recovering items, I'm fighting them, and I'm only going to keep it to myself. How can you keep it to yourself? It's Geneva. They were never miyayish. So therefore I feel a safe enami lemsa. And if there was no hope, this was an overwhelming force that came, so automatically everyone's miyayish. So even if he didn't say anything, everything's hefker, and whatever he took should be his. Afilu reisha nami la'atzmai. He should keep everything. So what type of scenario could there possibly be where it would make a difference if he declares when he goes out to fight these robbers if it's his or not? So the Gemara has three different terutzim and three different approaches. Amar Rabbi Bachama, Haka b'shuftin haskinam. You know what's happening over here? There are two shutfin, and normally the understanding is that in a shutfis, if one shutf does something, it's on behalf of both partners. And what happened was, so in fact, it was helpless. But it doesn't make a difference it was helpless. If people are shutfim, it's not always the two shutfim are doing exactly the same work. Sometimes one puts an effort, sometimes the other puts an effort. So it's assumed that what everyone is doing, they're doing for the case of shutfis. The question is, even though there is no partnership agreement to break up and to get out of the partnership, is there a way out? When there's a case like this, where there's a catastrophic robbery that's going to completely eliminate us, a shutav has a right to go his own separate way without any agreement, without a gunshot clause, without a shotgun clause, I think it's called. He can go. And therefore, Omar, if he said, I'm going to retrieve this from these gangsters for myself, Pollock, then he's separated, and then he gets to keep whatever he recovers. But Loy Omar, if he didn't declare that I'm doing this for myself, well, then we assume the shutfis is still standing, and therefore, Loy Pollock, he doesn't get to keep it for himself. So that was the first shot. Rabbi Bachama said it's a question of shutf. And the question merely is he separating from the shutfis or not? Rav Amar, no, it's a different case. It's bepoyal in askina. It's speaking where the person that went to fight and retrieve the goods that are stolen, he was an employee of the other one. Ucharav, and it's going according to Rav, the Amar Rav holds, poyal yochal boy afilu b'chatzei. A poyal, never mind because of this particular crisis, anytime a poyal wants to stop working, even if it's in the middle of a day, he's allowed to say, I am resigning and I'm no longer working for you. So therefore, if he didn't resign, kivishu say the balabayis tummy. Everything he does, he's doing it on behalf of the balabayis. And therefore the balabayis does get the items that he recovers. But once he decides that he doesn't want to work for his owner anymore, never mind the reasoning that there's a catastrophe here. It has nothing to do with that. Even if there was no catastrophe and there was a regular routine day, there's a special reason why a person could back out. Never should one Yid be mishubah to another Yid. A Yid is not an Evet to another person. And therefore, at any moment, he's a free man and he has a right to resign and stop his job. Now, of course, we already learned in Bava Metzia, and we're going to learn again, that if there's a lot of damage involved, they're in the middle of a project and it's going to cause it to get ruined. So there's a problem over there. But this is a regular routine case where in the normal cases when there's no extenuating circumstance, a poil is allowed to walk at any time. So that was the second shot. And the third shot is, it's still speaking by people in the caravan, sticking back to the old shot. And the problem was, if it's not salvageable, it's all hefker. He gets to keep everything no matter what. If it's salvageable, he has no right to keep anything because it still belongs to the original owner. So Rabashi comes up the middle. It's very, very difficult to recover these items of these gangsters. But with a lot of effort, it's possible that you could pull it off. So therefore, Gali Daite, if he tells them, I'm going in, but I'm not doing this for you, and they are silent and they don't come with him, well, they're showing that they're being miyayish, and therefore la'atzma he gets to keep it. But loigo that if he just went in and didn't tell them, so they didn't get an ultimatum from him, they're assuming that maybe they'll join him. But the fact that they didn't, well, thank you so much. The fact that he didn't respond with silence to his comment that I'm going in, that's proof that they didn't respond to silence because he didn't say anything. Therefore, they still retain their ownership, and therefore le'emta, whatever he recovers still belongs to those original owners, and everybody gets to keep what was there. Okay, now we're getting into a bumba sugya of Masira. We just finished the sugya of Gezalakim, and now we're starting the sugya of Masira. And there are great achronim who comment on the end of Bava Kama. Our Gemara, we learned all about Masira, and we learned all about Gezalakim, and it pretty much sounded that the consensus of our sugya was that Gezalakim was usher. That's what it sounds like from the consensus of our sugya. However, it's not so pashut at all, because there have been censors that have been censoring our Gemaras, and it's quite possible that maybe Gezalakim is not usher. There's other sugyas the Tosfos told us says that Gezalakim could be mutter. So there are big achronim, I think some Sofer, not Judah, they said I can't paskin on shilas of Gezalakim because I don't have a reliable text that I know was left over from Ravina and Ravashi, because the censors messed everything up. And one glaring example of it is as follows. We learned that there was a story where two officers from the, I think it was the Roman Empire, came to the Eden and said, you need to teach us the Torah. And they taught this fellow the whole Torah. Our Gemara doesn't say who it was who taught him the whole Torah. Our Bavli does not say that. But he taught him the whole Torah. And after they learned the whole Torah, they said, you know what? We really see that the Jewish Torah is very just. There's only one halacha in the Torah that we take exception to, and that is, how is it that if a Jewish shor shtois is a goyish shor, he's potter, and if a goyish shor shtois is a Yiddish shor, he has to pay nezek shalom no matter what. That seems like racism, and the Jews are practicing genocide, which is one of their favorite things to say. So he said, but don't worry, I'm not going to snitch on you. When I go back to the king, I'm not going to report this. I'll keep it to myself. That is how we have the Gemara in the Bavli. But really, it's a very modern Gemara. It's a very modern Gemara as to what happened over there. The Yerushalmi has a much more elaborate version of what happened. First of all, I believe the Yerushalmi identifies that this person was Rabbi Gamliel, and there were more problems found by these goyim, primarily that Gezel Akum, how could that be mutter? That was what they confronted him with. And Omar Rabbi Gamliel, the Yerushalmi says, right away he was misakin that Gezel Akum should be usher, which means that Gezel Akum is only an Isser Derabana. It's Xer in Rabbi Gamliel times. So the question is, why the discrepancy? So there are those who say is that the Bavli was a much more commonly used chas in the medieval days of Europe, and that's the ones that's what got censored. But they never bothered looking through the Yerushalmi, and Kobe was an oversight, and that was never censored. But the point is that a lot of these sugyas at the end of Bava Kama, we don't know if we really have the actual text, and because of that, there are poskim that were very afraid to rule on halachas based on these gemaras, and as well as with Masira, we're going to see a lot of interesting halachas. Hagoyzel Soda Mechavere. Someone stole the field from his friend, V'natlu Masikin. And Masikin came along and took it away. I call this karma, because he stole it, and then Anosim came and goes Lua Mina Gazlan. He got a taste of his own medicine. So the question is, you come at the guy and say, sir, I think you have an appointment somewhere else.
Just, what?
Take a hike.
Sit on it?
Yeah, yeah,
what?
take a hike. Yeah. Imakmas Medinahi. If it's a Makmas Medina, which Rashi defines as Ansua Arata de Achrini Udahech, they didn't only come and seize this property specifically, they were seizing other properties, and amongst them was this property that this Goslin stole. He can tell the owner of the property, it's there. It's not like he walked away with it. You can have it back now, and he'll be potter. But if the only reason why they took this property is because of the Goslin, and the Gemara is going to elaborate on how those circumstances would occur, then Chayiv Lahamid Loisad Acher, he's going to have to buy a replacement field on behalf of his victim. And here's where it gets exciting. Omer Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. It's not exciting yet. The next thing will be exciting. Masikin. How do you describe these gangsters who come and steal property en masse? We regard in our Mishnah Masikin, they're called. It wouldn't be a mistake, because we're going to show you that the Torah uses that word. Matzikin, to describe these people, is also loy mishtabish. Mandatani matzikin loy mishtabish. Dichsiv b'matzor u'v'matzoy. And here, this pasuk is in the Teichacha, and the pasuk is saying, see if I can find it over here. V'yachalta p'yivitnecha rachman l'slon b'sar b'necha u'v'neisecha asher nasan lecha Hashem lekecha b'matzor u'v'matzoy asher yotzik lecha ivecha. Your oivim, I guess, will press you, will torture you, will zip you. So it refers to them taking advantage of you, taking things away. Uman detani masikin loy mishtabish dichsiv. And here there's a machloikish Rashi and Tosfos how to understand it. But we'll like Rashi. It says yaresha tzilatzal. We're talking about even whatever you have left over from your pears that aren't going to grow well, but still kol eitzcho priyat masecha yarash tzilatzal. The grasshopper will eat it up. So how do you say anything from there? So Rash Tzilatzal is an arba, it's a grasshopper. Gazlanu, it's a gazlan. So you see the word Tzilatzal is Loshen Gneva. Tosfos focuses on the Yarash. But I call upon him, either word would properly describe a band of gangsters who take our things away. Zok the Gemara weiter. Im Tagaminon Yachsanine Saka. Im Machmas Hagazlin Chayiv. If it's because of the Goslin. So Heichadam, how is it that the Goslin would have caused this to happen? If it's speaking where they only came after the assets of the Goslin, and they didn't go after anybody else, the Mishnah wouldn't have had to speak out in Machmas Goslin Chayiv. We would know that from Imakabas Medina, who Omer Rishal Chalafnecha, but if they only came to the Goslin, it's not a Makas Medina. Hameresha Shemat Mina, Imakas Medina he, Eloi Loi. So Zok to Gemara, so what is the case of where we are blaming it on the Ganav? It can't be the case where they only went to the Ganav, because that's obvious already. It's got to be another case. Lo Tricha, the Achve Achvuye. Dr. Rashi, he never stole this property. Scratch everything. There was no gzeil on the property. The goyim came and they said, and he saw that they're coming to seize property. So the Goslin said, go take that property. That's a good field for you to take. So he's a Goslin because she pointed to someone's karka. So this is literally Mesira. They're coming, they want a karka, and he says, go take Yedim's karka. For that, he has to pay. Dr. Rashi, the Achve Achvuye, Shaloi Goslahu Atz. Elasham, Mami Beis HaMelech, Sheva Vakshin, Ligzoil Sadois, the Heralem, Plu Karkazu Shaploni, that's a good property for you to take. So he has to pay for that. Lish Nachrina, so why he has to pay for that? He didn't steal anything. Lish Nachrina, Hachab Mayaskinon, They came only after him, and they were going to seize all of his properties. And they asked him, declare, write a declaration down of all your properties so that we know what to take away. Show us your properties. And you know what? He included the property that he stole in the list. He also included that property in. So therefore, we blame it on him. Very interesting, because he not only was he a gazan, he was also a stupid gazan. Why? What was that failed? He shouldn't have declared it. That's like somebody coming through the border and declaring whatever he has. Did I just say that? Or did I just think that? Because talking more about that. Who gavra, the achve akri de chiti de veresh kalusa. He had a pile of grain, and he went and told the government that the Reish Kalusa has this grain, and they took the grain away. So now the question is there any liability on behalf of this person who pointed them to this pile of chiti? Also, the Kamed Rab Nachman, Chayve Rab Nachman L'shlume. Rab Nachman made him pay in full. The question, under what grounds does he have to pay? Just because he told somebody that there's chitim over there? So in the yeshiva, it was set up as follows: Yosef Rab Yosef Achayid Rab Huna Bar Chia. Rab Yosef was sitting behind Rab Huna Bar Chia in yeshiva in the rows, so he was behind him. The Yosef Rab Huna Bar Chia Kamed Rab Nachman. So Rab Nachman was the Rebbe, or at least he was in front, and behind him is Rab Huna Bar Chia, and behind him is Rab Yosef. Amalei Rab Huna Bar Chia Rab Nachman. Rab Huna Bar Chia asked Rab Nachman the following question: Dina Aknasa, is it me'ikar adin that this person has to pay, or are you sanctioning him because he did a horrible thing? He was moiser, the Reish Kalusa's chitim. Amalei masnisani. It's a mishnah. It's din. Our mishnah. Titan imach masagazan chayv lahamad loy soda. Vuchimnen we still down the mishnah in our first shot. The achvach vuye. All he did is he showed goyim who were coming to take land, take Yenim's land. So from our mishnah, you know it's din. It's not my own sanction that I made up. It's a mishnah. Was it the nafik? After Rab Nachman left, Amr le Rab Yosef le Rab Huna Bar Chia. Rab Yosef asked Rab Huna Bar Chia, "My nafkalach minei. Like, why do you care why Rab Nachman was mechayiv? Why should it make a difference?" Turning now on to Kuf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, which is where we're supposed to be holding. Idina ikanasa. What is the difference? Amr le, I'll tell you why. Because idina, if it's meikar din, garmina minei. If I have a similar case, I would apply that din. But ikanasa, if it's just a sanction for that particular incident that Rab Nachman saw fit to punish this guy, then I wouldn't be able to apply this to a similar circumstance. How do you know, how do you know that you wouldn't make a similar knas just by comparing it to Rab Nachman's case where he created the precedent? Dr. Gemara, the Tanya. They used to say, Hamatame, if you are matame somebody's truma, so you basically messed it all up. Or if it was his tires, if it was kachim, you messed it up, you made it basically worthless. V'amanasech, you take somebody's wine, you pour it l'avodah zarah, clearly you are messing up completely his wine. They're going to be mechayiv you. They're going to be mechayiv you. However, I'm sorry, it lost a vast portion of its value, but it's talking about kachim here as well. Could be kachim as well. Chazru loymar. Then they increased their gzera, they expanded it, af hamadama, but madama as well. So you see from here, madama means you mixed someone's chulin into truma, you put some truma into someone's chulin, so now it all has to be treated as truma. Chazru in, loy chazru loy. Unless Chazal themselves made this gzera, you wouldn't on your own be able to say, well, we know there's a knas for matam and menasach, so let's say there's a knas for madama as well. You wouldn't say that. Dafka, because the Bez Magadol went and changed their mind. My time, lav mishum the knasu, uknasu like armina minate. So that's where you have a proof that you don't compare things and make and extend the knas to something else with your own authority. Dr. Lloyd, that's not why. It's because meikara savri have said maruba chashusu. If you're matama, someone's truma, it's causing a great loss. If you're menasich and you mess up someone's wine, you're causing a great loss. But if you're mixing truma into someone's chulin, now it has to be treated as truma. So it'll be worth a little bit less. Only a coin can eat it, but it's not a total loss. So maybe lehefzet mut loichashashu. But then they decided they want to extend this knas savri lehefzet mut nami chashashu. So normally you would avada compare knas to knas, but madama is not at all comparable to mitama and menasich because it's much less loss. Any is that so? But we have another version how this happened. But Tanya Avu the Ravabin, where we show you and then by Menasach, you can't say it's a small loss. The small loss of Medama was already included with Medama. My timer. So once again, we have our proof. Lav mishum delay kamina michnasa. So tomorrow, no. It's meikaris savi krab avin. Savi krab yirmiyah. This is a whole big lumdish sugya that's not really focused in this Masechta, but we're going to taste it right now. Meikaris savi krab avin. The original held like krab avin. Damar abavin. When it's kamle b'derabim, how simultaneous does the Isser Misa and the Isser Mammon have to be? Damar abavin. Zorg chetz mitchilas arba l'besoif arba. On Shabbos, if you make something move 4 Amos in Rosh Hashanah, you made a Akira in Rosh Hashanah, it traveled 4 Amos in Rosh Hashanah, and they made a Nach in Rosh Hashanah, you're Chayiv Misa, because that's the Isser of Mavir Dalat Amos in Rosh Hashanah, and if you shot an arrow 4 Amos, it would be Mechayiv. What if while it was airborne, it flew through a beged, it flew through somebody's clothesline? I'm not sure how someone's clothesline would have been in Rosh Hashanah, it flew through someone's beged that was in Rosh Hashanah and caused damage along the way. It was a big, beautiful sheet, and it is gemacht for alalach. Those who get it. Those who don't. And Potter, the halacha is he is Potter. Why? The Akira is part of the malacha of the Akira and the of the Ma'isa malacha on Shabbos that he did. It's one big malacha, and that one big malacha caused him u'mischai b'nafshay. And therefore, anything that occurred during that flight is considered kamle b'derabim. But that things are very different. When someone's menasach, what does he do? He picks up Yadam's wine, he's koinit, he's a ganef, and then he pours it. So the Amr B'Yirmiyah, Mishas Akba Kanya, and therefore he chayiv le'mamin, but mischayiv b'nafshe lehava at chas nisuch. So the two actions, the action that caused a mechiv moment, and the action that caused a mechiv misa, are two separate and distinct actions, and that's why there's no kavli v'drabin. So that's the havamin and maskon over there. Nothing to do with that a knas you cannot make on your own by being medama davar l'dam. Okay. Yeah. But they get to the whole big sugi. There's a whole big sugi over there. Maybe he was never. What if he didn't want to be koinit? But that's not for now. Rav Huna bar Yehuda ikloi lebei of Yoni. He showed up to a city called Bay of Yoni. Also, like I made the Rav, they were probably all very rich there. They were called the House of Poor People. It was probably a very wealthy city. I'm just imagining. Also, like I made the Rav. You know, there's a Besmerish town. It's called Shoya Veimayim, Wasserträgers. You know where it got its name from? I remember when they invented that shul. Eli Koenig was the one who opened up that shul, and he said, "I don't want people to think I'm rich, Reichman. We're going to call it Shoya Veimayim." Was then instead of Pusha the Wasserträgers. So he could have called it Bay of Yoni. Anyway, also like Kamei, the Rava. Also like Kamei, the Rava from the T3. Also like Kamei, the Rava. Amalei. He asked Rabbi Shaila, tell me if it's a good word. Maybe you had a good Shaila that happened. I want to hear a good shtickle. I'll tell you what happened. Yisrael shon tzu oiv de gechavim. The Haramam and Chaver. Goyim came and said, we want your property. The Malchus came to seize Jewish property. And he said, oh yeah, go take that property there. And it turned out he deflected them to take his Chaver's property. Boliyadi. That's the Shaila that came to me. V'chayavtit. I was mechayev this fellow who pointed it out to somebody else. Amarle, you were mechayev him? You got a problem because it's wrong. Why should you be mechayev him? Ahadar uvda l'mari. You better pay the guy back because it was wrong that you should be mechayev the person who merely pointed out somebody else's property. The Tanya we learned in the Brisa. Yisrael shansu avdikachavim the haramam and chaver potter. However, b'notal b'nosam b'yad. If the Yid physically picked up the Jew's item and gives it to the Goyim, there he's himself stealing. So that's not a garmi anymore. That's a direct ma'isa. Chayv will be chayv. Omerabba im herame atzmai. If on his own, without being asked, he approached the Goyim and said, "Let me show you a good property to take." He saw them coming. If they tell him and they tell him you better give us your property, and he's trying to get out of it, maybe that's not so bad. But here Nobody asked him. He on his own went and volunteered. He had his property. That is kenosav and nosam biyadami, and therefore my psak was just to be machayv. He's got to pay. Who gavri don't sue oivdik achavim. The achve achamra the Rav Mori barei the Rav Pinchas barei the Rav Chista. He gave over the wine. He revealed to the goyim that there was wine there that belonged to Rav Mori barei Rav Pinchas barei Rav Chista. Amalei. And then the goyim said, okay, fine, you're pointing that out to him. We want you to do the deed. Dari v'amti b'hadon. You go get the wine for us. Dara, he lifted it up, v'amti b'hadon, and he brought it to them. So now the goyim followed from him that he should be physically involved in this action. And then they asked Rabashi Dalacha, Patrine, he said he's Pater. And here, this was literally a case of Nosav Nosam Biyad, because the Goyim instructed him to take it. That's if he didn't first show the Goyim the wine. So therefore, he's taking it. But if the Goyim already are on it, it's already a lost cause. Miklikalya. By the time they asked him to lift it up, they were already there. They were already taking it. So it's as if he monatfir tover. It's already as if he took something that was not valued anymore. So for the actual pointing it out, he's not chayiv. It's garmi, he's potter. And for the actual handing it over, since he only handed it over after he already pointed it out to them, it's as if it's not valuable anymore, and therefore you're potter. How could you say that? On this, what if the Anis says, "Hoishitli pikia amirzeh, pass me this bundle of straw." Or or pass me this cluster of grapes, and he passed it over to him, chayiv. So why are you chayiv? Why are you chayiv? Because once again, the pashas were there already. That they're not right there. Going to koi betray avin in the hara. The goyim were on one side of the river. They couldn't have access to the yid stuff. And this yid is on the other side of the river, and by him passing it over, he's taking it from out of their control, and he's putting it into their control. That's a reason to be mechayvim. And I'll prove to you that that's the case. They kanami the katani hoishit v'loy tnitain. They said, stretch it out for us. Obviously, lean over the river and pass it to us. Not that we're right here and we could have taken it ourselves. Shemamina.
Yes, and that's because you said they.
I thought it was because of the lashon hoishit, because the Gemara says differently. The Gemara says hoishit and not tain.
If he said they, so it's like it's already.
I hear. I hear. Okay. Hahu shusa. There was a shusa. A shusa, Rashi says, is a net. Mechamoris l'dogam or l'chais. It was some type of his net that was capturing animals. That have a minsela betray. Two people were fighting over it. And one of these two guys was a real baby. Hi Amr Didihu, hi Amr Didihu. So what did one guy do? You know what? You're fighting with me. We're both not going to have it. Umasra lefarhagna de Malka. He told the Malchus, this is a good asset of the Jews that you can take. So the question is, do I have to pay? Amr Abayi, Yochaloimer, he can say, I'm not mukhlik, I didn't hurt him. Anna kimasra didi masri. It was my own that I go over. And it goes. The Rishonim explain it works with the concept of kol dalam dvgar. We have here machlokes, no one's a muksik, so it's kol dalam gover. I grabbed it for myself. It was mine, so you can't sanction me for giving up somebody else's stuff. Amalei Rava v'chol kavinei. You don't have a right to just go take it in this case. Amalei Rava, you know what we'll do to him? We're going to put this man into cherim ad maisilei v'koi bedina until he comes and he stands in the Torah and he recovers the losses. Hu gavri davaboy achvoye. Astivna the Chavre. He wanted to point out to the Goyim that his friend had tevet, had straw. Also, the Chamei Rav, he went to Rav and said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to teach this guy a lesson. Amalei Rav said, Loi sichli v'loi sichli, don't you dare. And he said, if you think I'm not going to do it, you got something coming to you. Amalei, machvina, I'm going to do that. So he's now declaring his intention to be moiser. What happened? There's an awesome story we're about to learn, a long story. It's going to go on the base. Yosy Rav Kahana Kamei Rav, Shamte L'Kumene. He choked him to death. He killed him. The guy says, I'm going to be moiser, and he got killed. So we learned from here, Halacha l'maisa, the Shulchan Aruch paskins, that if someone's going to make Mesira, you're allowed to kill the guy. Not only are you allowed to kill the guy, we're going to soon say you're supposed to kill the guy. L'kaya l'tzavri, shavar mafrakta, he broke his neck. He literally broke his neck. Someone wants to be Moshe and eat, even if it's only for money, you can go break his neck. But we're going to soon see that not so plush. Kari Ravi Luya, Rav said regarding this situation, your son fainted. Shachlu b'rosh kachutzos, they fell dead on the road. Kisoy machmer, like some type of wild animal that's caught in a net. Masoy zeh, even enough of a michmar, ain't no rachmin alav. Af maman shal Yisrael, sorry. Af maman shal show to the money of Yid, kivin shenafel b'yad gechavim, b'yad oivei gechavim, ain't merachmin alav. And what Rav was saying is, if his money falls into the hand of a guy and he's going to resist, they'll kill him too. So you're technically putting a Yid in the risk of losing his life. And that's why it's justified that Rav Kahana should have jumped on this guy and killed him before he had a chance to do anything. Amalei Rav Kahana, ad ha'idna haver parsoi, until recently, people that were running our country, we were in Rahmanot under secular rule, were Persians, and they had no problem with murder. They were liberals. They let criminals out the next day. They don't care, leaving wild murderers and criminals and rapists running around the streets. But recently the government changed and it became Republican. They want law and order. So I'm in big trouble now because I just murdered somebody. I got a problem. So kum as sakla arad Yisrael, run and go to Yisrael. What do you do when you commit a crime in Chutzlaris? Malait in Eretz Yisrael. The Kabul Allah, and now Rav told him the Kabul Allah, when you go to Yisrael, you need to be Kabul upon yourself an oinish to like tikshi li Rabbi Yochanan shevashnin. You're going to go learn by Rabbi Yochanan, who was the Rosh Hashiva in Eretz Yisrael. You're not allowed to ask him a kasha for 7 years. You're going to have to withhold your kashas. Could you imagine the Mesiras Nefesh? So the Rishonim speak about why. What did he do wrong? Reb Chaim did the right thing. What did he do wrong? So there are those who learn that he was sort of Moira Alacha b'fnei Rabbi. He didn't ask Rav what he should do. He just jumped and he did it. So it could be for that he had to do tshuva, or could be he caused Rav Agmas Nefesh because now he's going away and he was Rav's Talmud. So there's a little discussion as to why he had to need a kapara. The kapara was that he's not allowed to ask into shir. He's not allowed to ask in the middle of shir. He's not allowed to ask a kasha from Rabbi Yochanan for 7 years. We're going to see for a man on Rav Kahana's level that was very big torture. So he got the yeshiva and he saw that there was a chazor shir going on, and Rish Lakish, who was Rabbi Yochanan's best Talmud, was saying over the shir for the oilam, the Yosef, the kamasayim esifta, the yoma l'rabbanim. He was finishing off saying over the shir. Amar lahu Rish Lakish heicha. Right. Amar lahu Rish Lakish. He asked, "Where's Rish Lakish?" Amar lahu told him, "Amai, why do you want to know where Rish Lakish is?" Amar lahu, first of all, hi kusha. I have these kashas on the shir. We're going to have these two terutzim. Because he knew he couldn't ask Rabbi Yochanan, so he was going to ask Rish Lakish all those questions. So Amr Rish Lakish, they told Rish Lakish, we have over here a guy who's a bumba guy. He is asking kashas and he's varfing svaris. He's a guy to be reckoned with. Also Rish Lakish, Amr Rabbi Yochanan told Rabbi Yochanan, warning, Ari Alami Bavel, there's a lion here from Bavel. For tomorrow's shir, Rabbi Yochanan, you better prepare good, because he's going to rip you to shreds as the Mizin Kenan. Le'ayin marba misivta de lemachar, because you could ask you good kashas. So already they saw that this guest Rav Kahana was a knakadik guy, so they put him over noon. Lemachar oisvei bedar kama habed Rabbi Yochanan. They put him right there in the front row in front of Rabbi Yochanan because they knew he was going to ask bombadik kashas. Amar Shemaitza v'loyakshi. Rabbi Yochanan kept on saying halachas, and not a word came out of Rav Kahana because of his gezerah that he wasn't allowed to ask questions. So they saw the guys of Tatembel. And Chasei Achoirei Shevedori Adu Usei Bedor Basra. They demoted him to the last bench where the freshies, the newbies come in, which is Bizu Bizyonis. The Vagot Lador, like a Kahana, is sitting there in the back with the Cheder Kindlach. It was Bizu Bizyonis. Amalei Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. Arisha Marta, this big knacker guy that you advertised, he was all hat and no cattle. Nasa Shul, he became a little fox. Suddenly he's all quiet. He's not asking anything. So once Reb Kahana suffered that humiliating experience, Amar, he said, Yeirava Dani Shavidari Lahava Chilov Shavishnin. The 7 levels that they put me down, that bizoin, that tsar, should be connected 7 years, and I'm going to now say that my gzeir is over. I was machaper already on myself. Damali Rav. This is the 7 years that Rav told me. Come Akara, he got up. Amar Lei, Neder Mar Beresha. Rabbi Yochanan, start your shir again. Start from the beginning. Take it from the top. A pretty brave guy. Amar Shmaitzer, Rabbi Yochanan started the actually to Merangafe. So he saw that Rabbi Khan is a knacker. Ukme B'dar Kama. He put him back in the front. Amar Shmaitzer actually. And again he slugged up something Rabbi Yochanan said. So Rabbi Yochanan is now losing his stature. Rabbi Yochanan of Yosy Hashevet Bistarki, he used to sit on like 7 mats or mattresses or 7 pillows or whatever it was. Shalfi Lochada Bistarka Mitusei. Since he couldn't answer Rabbi Khan's kasha, he felt that he has to lower himself, he has to demote himself. So he took one pillow away. Amar Shmaitzav actually. And again, every time he couldn't answer, he reduced his covet. Ad the Shalfi Lakuli Bistarka Mitusei ad the Yosy Alara. Rabbi Yochanan was sitting on the ground because he said, how could I sit above Rav Kahana? Rav Kahana can't bear some famir. Rabbi Yochanan Gavra Saba Haba. He was an old man. Umasriche Gevine. His eyelashes were so long that they covered his eyes, he couldn't see. Amalu, he said, Dalulu Eina. He told us to lift up my long eyebrows, the achaze, so that I could see. And they're trying to explain why. Because when you see someone face to face, come besser verstehen. Sometimes when you speak to somebody face to face, you'll get a better understanding of what he's saying than if you just hear his voice. So Dole the Mechalta the Kasva, they used like silver sticks. He was like a rebbe, and they lifted up his eyebrows with silver sticks, and he saw that it seems like Rav Kahana might have had a cleft palate, or he had something of a split in his lip. Chaz of the parties was and it looked like he was smiling in a mocking fashion. Sover achach kamachayich. Rabbi Yochanan thought that Rav Kahana was looking at him in a mocking fashion, and it hurt Rabbi Yochanan's feelings. And that caused that v'noch nafshe, that Rabbi Kahana should die, because he made Rabbi Yochanan feel bad. You got to be careful not to make people feel bad, because they feel bad, they might take him out. L'machar amalu Rabbi Yochanan l'Rabbanan. The next day, Rabbi was a little bit upset. He said, "Chazisi l'bavlo, look at this bavlo that he's making fun of me. Heichi Ovid, what he did to me." Amalin told him he didn't do anything to you. You're imagining it, Rabbi Yochanan. Dake hachi. That's what his face looked like, but he wasn't mocking at all. You misread it. So Rabbi Yochanan felt horrific. He killed somebody. All the Gabin Maraka. He went to the caver of Rav Kahana. Chaza, he saw that there was a snake wrapped around the opening to his caver with its tail in its mouth. You couldn't penetrate. Open your mouth. In other words, release your tail from your mouth. Unwind. The Yikonis Harabe Talmud. Me, the Rebbe Rabbi Yochanan, is going to go to the Talmud of Kahana. The snake ignored. Yichnois chaver chaver v'loy posach. Then he said, Yichnois Talmud etzel Rav. He identified himself as a Talmud compared to Rav Kahana. Then posach lay. Boy rachme, he davened v'ukmei, and he woke up Rav Kahana. Like this is routine stuff. Snakes protecting kvarim, lions accompanying you, shayrasa, davening, and a dead man stands up. It was like this routine. No one's shocked over it. This is like routine stuff. Amalei, Amalei, you have a yodana. The darker the marhaki. How did I know this was your face and you weren't mocking me? Loichal shadaiti. So now, come on back. Hasta lacy mar bradam. Come back home, buddy. Amalei, imatzil miboy rachmi. If you can ask from the Rebbeinu Shloim, the Suloi Shechivna, that I should never die again, which is Rashi's second shot, the experience of death is so excruciatingly painful, I don't want to have to go through it again. I went through it once. That's one shot. The other shot is that I don't want to risk death by you being insulted. What am I going to do if I come back to Yeshiva and I ask you a good kasha and I slug you up? You're going to kill me again? I don't need that. So Azil I'll come. V'loi loy Azil. Because Hoyel v'chalav shaita, once there was already a nace here once that I became alive. Chalav Tyrei. It's already, Rashi says Chalav Tyrei. He kitzu mishnasai. I'm sorry. It happened. I don't want to go through it. So Tyrei, he woke him up. Ukme, he made him, he resurrected Rab Kana. Shaile kol Sveika dahavalei. He asked him all his questions that he had. Upashtin in the hell, and he answered it for him. So you don't want to come back to life, fine. At least answer all my questions, then you can go back to rest in peace. Okay? So to where Hainu, the Amr bit, but there's a Shaila if he went back to die or if he was still alive later, because Rashi brings stories that Rav Kana was still around. Rashi brings stories that people would make fun of Rav Kana. They would ask him, so tell me, how is it in the NFL? No, they would make fun of him that he died. So there's a discussion about that. We think that the Torah is from Eretz Yisrael, the Torah is from Bava, and those Kahana was so great, he brought us the real Torah. Hahu the Achve Amtachsa l'Rab Abba. He showed the Amtachsa of Rab Abba. What are Amtachsa? Rashi says, Tachshit Emeshi, beautiful begod. Yosy Rabbi Bava, Chanina Bapapi Rabbitzuk Navka. The Yosy Rabbi Lo Gabai. The big titans were sitting around, and they wanted to know how to deal with this moiser. Sover l'chayuve, they wanted to be mechayivim. Mihadetnan. It says in the Mishnah, we looked at this recently, a dain who messes up. Donas adin, zika sachayev, v'chivas azakai, time is a tar, v'tir is a tame, masha asa asoi, yishal mibeisa. So you see, even though the dain didn't physically do any damage to anybody, he merely passed wrong. It's like a garmi. We make him pay. So I bazoi, here he didn't physically damage anybody, but he was moiser, he's a garmi, he should pay. Amle beloi, what do you mean? Hachi Amar, Rav, v'husha nasam v'nasam biyad. In the case of the dying, it's because he himself carried out the psak. He took the money from A and gave it to B. Right? We learned that once before. So they're not garmi. He's actually doing it, but a garmi shouldn't be chayiv. So Amrulay, they told, because what's happening is Rab Abba needs some recourse. Rab Abba wants someone who's going to paskin that he can go after the Hogaver. So they told Rab Abba, let me tell you what to do. We'll give you advice. We can't help you here. We'll give you advice. Zil Gabe, the Rab Shimon ben Elyakim, Rab Elazar ben Patas, go to them because we know what their opinion is in the sug of garmi. The daini dini the garmi. They will be mechayiv him because they hold you could be mechayiv somebody who's a garmi. Also like Abayu, chayiv mimasnisin. They were mechayiv this person to pay because of the Mishnah that says imachas agazan chayiv lahamad l'shad acher. That's our Mishnah, and that's working with garmi. But up with the achva, merely showing the goyim that there's something here to take is enough to be mechayiv somebody. Who garbi a mifkid like kasha the kasha. There was a person who gave a shomer a beautiful silver coin. Saliku Gamvi Eluya Shakla. Ganovim came to him and they wanted to kill him and attack him. So he took the shomer, took the becher that was given to him to watch, Yavalu, and he gave it to them. So the question is the shomer going to be high? Also, coming to Rabba, Patre, they said the shomer is pot. Amalei Abaye, what do you mean? Hamatzal Atzamoi, B'moment Chaverehu. This is literally saving his skin with Yenim's money. Ella Amar Ravashi Chazinan we see. If this shomer is a wealthy guy, that means when they came, they weren't looking to take that becher. They were going to ransack him because they knew he had money. Then Yosy, they came for the shomer, and now the shomer is really saving his skin with Yenim's object he would have to pay. Biloi, but what if he was a poor guy and they knew that he had this becher and that's what they were targeting? At that the kaspa also, and therefore the shomer is not chayiv. Who gave this is a geschmack story of Chaim. Who gave it a mifkid gabei? Arnaka pigeon shvuyim. He was a shomer. What was he watching? A bag of money that someone raised to use for a pigeon shvuyim. Shalika gamvi luye. Again, the same thing happened. A band of robbers jumped on him. Shakla yavin alay. He gave the bag that was for pigeon shvuyim. He gave it to the ganovim. Also, lakamei the Rava. The Gabat Tzedakah came to Rava to say he got to pay. Patra, he said the guy's potter. Amalei Abaye, but what do you mean? Amalei ain't like pigeon shvuyim. God umizeh. He's also needs a pigeon shvuyim. So the money was used for its intended purpose. Who gave the active ba'asak kamra lemavra. There was a ferry, the ferry to the island, to the Center Island ferry, and it's not made for donkeys, it's made for humans. And this guy came early and he chapped it on his donkey on board. Before people got on, he snuck it on. During the trip, the donkey freaked out. It was jumping and it was endangering the whole vessel, and the whole vessel was going to sink because he had a wild chamor that was freaking out. So everyone's going to die. Also, Gavra Malach Lechamra. There was a person who came, and according to one shot, Malach is Maloshan, a captain of a ship. He steered the Chamra right overboard. Zahu Gavra Vishadjul and the Hara Vitava. So basically, he killed someone's donkey by throwing it overboard. So the owner of the donkey came. Also, came the Rabbah, and the owner told him, you're complaining that he killed your ass? You're the ass. Why would you bring it on in the first place, right? Also, came the Rabbah. Huh? That's right. Patre, he potted him. Amalei Baya, I have a mashal atzav Kaveru. Amalei, what are you talking about? Hi, Meikar Roidif. This guy who brought it on board is a Roidif. He's endangering everybody's life. Rabba Tamei Dama Rabba, Roidif show you Roidif Achar Chaver Lahargoy. If a Roidif is running after you to kill you, Vishiber as a Caleb, and he broke Caleb. Now this Roidif is in the matzav that anybody can kill him.
Right, is it common for the,
What?
is it expected the donkey would do that? I mean, you don't.
I don't know.
for sure.
Vishiber as a Caleb, Ben Shel Nirdaf, Ben Shel Kol Adam, Potter Sher Mischai Ben Avsha. While you're trying to kill somebody, your life is free for anybody who wants to kill it. So any damage that you do, you'll be Potter. Ben Nirdaf Sheshiber as a Caleb Shel Roidif. And what about a Nirdaf who's running away and he broke the Caleb of Roidif? He's Potter. You know why? Because if I can kill him, I can surely damage his nechosim. If I'm running away from somebody and I break a third party's item as I'm running, there I'll be chayiv to pay. But the roidiv, show you roidiv, what if Reuben is running after somebody to kill him, and Shimon sees that Reuben's trying to kill somebody, so Shimon's running after Reuben to kill Reuben. So roidiv, show you roidiv, acher roidiv lahatzel, v'shibur kalim, ben shel nirdav, ben shel ladim potter, v'loim in a din. He's not part of him in a din. Better he should be chayiv. There's no reason why he should be part of him breaking people's kalim. If you don't patter him, ein loch adam shematzelas chaverim in a roidiv. People are going to say, I'm not running after my friend to save him from the roidiv. I might damage something. I don't want to be liable. But once he's patted from that, then he'll feel free to go save his friend who's in trouble. Okay, it's already 6:52. We'll stop here. I'm struggling to keep up with the daf, and I got to get ahead. So I'm really going to push on. This is a fascinating daf. This mice with the brilliant, it's awesome stuff happening here. And we should all have a gebench to gebench today.